What's up, everyone? In this video, I want to go over this very interesting article that I read earlier called, that's about DHEA, dehydroepiandrosterone, which is a supplement that I started taking about 2 to 3 weeks ago, and I have found it to be a game changer in terms of my energy level. And I was just looking it up today because I'm currently taking 100 milligrams of DHEA every day, and I just had the idea, I guess, pop into my head, what would happen if I started taking 200 milligrams of DHEA every day. So I did a little Google search for some information on 200 milligrams a day to see what I could turn up, and I found this article that I read already in its entirety that I think is very interesting, and I thought it was interesting enough to make an actual video on. DHEA is a very interesting substance because it is one of the few supplements that you can buy over the counter in the United States that is an actual hormone that might have an effect on the androgens in your body, might actually be responsible for raising testosterone, like actually. And those things, like DHEA, it's a steroid, basically. DHEA is an actual steroid. It's not, I don't know, would it be considered an androgenic? It's not like, okay, so anabolic steroids like testosterone, DHEA, things like that, those are abbreviated as AAS, androgenic and anabolic androgenic steroids, I think. I'm not sure if DHEA is, but it's definitely androgenic, or is an androgen as far as I know. Anyway, let's read this article. So I don't really actually know who this is by, but let's see, can you see? Can't really see my big ugly head. Whatever, anyway, let's read it. Many new supplement crazes occur simply because a novel supplement has been introduced into the market. In the case of DHEA, its popularity has soared because an old drug has recently become available as an off-the-shelf supplement in the US. This occurred because the 1994 U.S. Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act was passed, allowing many substances to be sold without prescription. Products like melatonin, DHEA, pregnenolone, progesterone, and androstenedione are now readily and legally available in many U.S. health food stores, and also in some pharmacies and supermarkets. So these, like melatonin is also a hormone, right? I actually, there's a lot of studies on melatonin. It's very safe. Like even in like insane doses, it's safe. Scientists actually like tried to overdose rats on melatonin and were not able to kill the rats by giving them like grams of melatonin. You know what I mean? So like it's very safe, but it's a hormone, right? And if you travel to other countries, you can't really buy melatonin or DHEA in other countries because I'm not sure if they're prescription medications over there, but they like have a direct effect on your like endocrine system, on your hormones. So I think that's why they're restricted. The wide US availability of these substances has allowed a kind of black market to flourish in Canada and other countries where supplement laws are more strict, but not necessarily enforced. Many health food stores in Canada sell these supplements from under the counter. Customers can enter a health food store and ask for a particular product, and the shopkeeper will pull them out from a hiding place, perhaps from the back storeroom, or literally from under the counter. I've received inquiries from endurance athletes about DHEA, blah, blah, blah. All right, he's going to talk about DHEA. DHEA is the acronym for dehydroepiandrosterone, an androgen occurring naturally in humans and synthesized from cholesterol. Most hormones are synthesized from cholesterol, which is why you need fat in order to have like a healthy hormone profile. It is the most abundant steroid in the human body and is secreted primarily from the adrenal cortex, but it is also synthesized by the skin, testes, and brain. The adrenal cortex is the outer shell of the adrenal gland, a small triangular-shaped endocrine, which is hormone-secreting gland, situated at the top of each kidney. There are 2 adrenal glands. Interesting, I didn't know that. The adrenal cortex synthesizes and secretes more than 30 different steroids, which are classified into 3 groups: glucocorticoids like cortisol, mineral corticoids like aldosterone, and androgens like DHEA. Okay, so DHEA is an androgen. Androgen is it's like a male hormone. But women also have DHEA, just like women also have testosterone. In the manufacturing of DHEA, cholesterol must first enter the adrenal cortex, where it's transformed into pregnenolone. Interesting. So I always heard of pregnenolone as like the mother hormone, right? But it turns out that DHEA turns into pregnenolone and not the other way around. The pregnenolone is then converted into DHEA. Oh, I see. So the cholesterol turns into pregnenolone, and then the pregnenolone turns into DHEA. So I guess pregnenolone is really like the mother hormone. In humans, DHEA in its original form is quickly metabolized in the adrenal cortex, the DHEAS, but there's no difference, blah, blah, blah. I've already read this part. DHEA levels remain very low for the first 7 to 10 years of life. They peak at around 20 to 24. After age 30, they decline by about 20% for every 10 years. At ages 80 to 90, DHEA levels are about 90% lower than they were at their peak. The role of DHEA supplementation may be most relevant with older athletes above 40 years of age. So anecdotally, and I haven't had any blood tests, but I mentioned this in another video, that when I started taking 40 milligrams of DHEA, I noticed my energy levels like cranked up through the roof, like insane. And you know what it says here about, you know, between 85 to 90, I started giving this to my parents a couple days ago when I got here, and my dad is 82, or will be, I think he's 82, or no, he'll be 82 this year, I think. Whatever, 81, 82, 83, doesn't matter. My mom is 70. I started giving it to them, and I noticed a massive difference in increase in their energy levels as well, and they're pushing it. So, you know, might be a connection there. It is interesting to note that during times of high stress or illness, there's a shift in the pregnenolone metabolism that creates a reduced production of DHEA and an increased output of the glucocorticoids like cortisol. So interesting. Okay, there's evidence that this shift causes a decline in immune function, perhaps due to impaired testosterone production and increased cortisol levels. Potentially, DHEA supplementation during times of heavy training may be useful to raise DHEA levels back to their natural levels, hopefully eliciting greater testosterone production. So it seems like, I've read this already, like I said, it seems like the main benefit, or what they're implying is the main benefit of DHEA, is its ability to raise or balance testosterone levels in times of high stress. That's really like what it comes down to. When you're stressed, like what it says here, you experience stress, your DHEA drops and your cortisol rises, and that like affects your immune system. And I guess what they didn't say there, right? So it says in the next one, because of impaired testosterone production. So your DHEA drops, which causes your testosterone to drop, is what they're assuming, what's implied, causes your cortisol to rise. So the idea is that when you're stressed out, you take DHEA, it'll help balance everything out. Doesn't say that it reduces the cortisol, but I guess just it mitigates the effects. Also, because cortisol is a catabolic hormone, it would be logical to believe that DHEA supplementation may block its effects and promote anabolism and recovery. In fact, one study has demonstrated glucocorticoid blocking effects with the use of DHEA. Okay, so it does block the effects of cortisol, according to one study. This suggests that perhaps endurance athletes of any age may benefit from small amounts of DHEA during times of heavy training to offset the decline in DHEA production. All right, so DHEA is the precursor to androstenedione, androstenediol, estradiol, estriol, testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, and etiocolanolone. Incidentally, you may have heard or read that men have little estrogen circulating in their bodies, while women have some testosterone circulating around, but you could never understand how, since men don't have ovaries to produce the estrogen and women don't have testes to produce testosterone. Well, it's because we all produce DHEA, which is then converted to estrogen or testosterone or into several other possible hormones through the activity of special enzymes within the adrenal cortex. Women are completely dependent on these special enzymes to convert other existing hormones into testosterone, the most important anabolic androgenic hormone in the body. This may explain why women are said to respond and benefit from DHEA supplementation more than men do. Women may be better equipped, which means they have more enzymes to convert greater quantities of DHEA into androgens. So I guess because women are dependent on DHEA to convert they're dependent on the enzymes to convert DHEA to testosterone. And it's possible, I guess, that they have like the levels of enzymes sounds like will not fluctuate a lot, but the levels of DHEA will. So you've got all these enzymes to break down the DHEA, but you have no DHEA. So I guess supplementing DHEA will help. A reader asked me if there are any other supplements that are necessary to take in order to protect themselves from any unwanted side effects of DHEA use. The reader brought up zinc. From my reading, I've not found any information on zinc. Let's see here. If micronutrients like zinc, copper, and magnesium are not present in sufficient amounts. So basically, like this guy says, you need to take a good multivitamin and mineral supplement. I used to be all about the multivitamins and mineral supplements. I stopped taking them for a very long time. Honestly, after reading this, I might start taking them again. The only issue is that like there's some information, I haven't looked into this too much, that synthetic vitamins and synthetic mineral supplements are like they're like bad for you. They'll like fuck you up somehow. Back to protective nutrients while using DHEA. All right, so 2 studies using male rats. Interesting. Both investigations found that the steroidal hormone DHEA exacerbates or worsens oxidative stress. So it's not an antioxidant, especially when coupled with strenuous exercise, as indicated by markers of lipid peroxidation and its effects on scavenger enzymes. For both studies, 2 groups of rats were given DHEA for 5 weeks. One group was also given vitamin E. Let's see here. Well, what about the group that studied the vitamin E, or that took the vitamin E? The researchers found indicators of oxidative stress in all muscle fibers, including cardiac muscle. This is important because some researchers speculate that oxidative stress to the cardiac muscle in the long term may be one of the causes of cardiac disease. As well, oxidative stress to skeletal muscle has been thought to be one of the causes of delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. Importantly, these 2 studies show that supplementation with vitamin E can help reduce the amount of oxidative stress induced by DHEA. So it's not that vitamin E, it's not that they work like synergistically. I think that vitamin E is just an antioxidant in its own, like on its own. But from what it sounds like, you could substitute another vitamin E for like something other than vitamin E as an antioxidant. This research is interesting. It provides another story that manufacturers of DHEA are not telling us. DHEA has been touted as a powerful antioxidant, yet these studies show quite the opposite. In fact, DHEA is such a powerful pro-oxidant that researchers actually use it as a tool to induce elevations in oxidative stress in lab animals and humans as a means to study, for example, the efficacy of antioxidant supplements, in this case, vitamin E. So that's interesting. This makes me conclude that high doses of DHEA for extended periods of time may not be a good idea, especially concerning cardiac health. So the idea, like that's fair to say. You just need to define what is a high dose. Now, I've already read this article. I know that a high dose, like 25 to 100 milligrams, is not considered a high dose by this author. But like, I gotta sneeze. Oh my God. A gram, for example, is probably more than you should be taking for an extended period of time. For men, DHEA use has one added risk, and that is benign prostatic hypertrophy, and large prostate is believed to be caused by excessive levels of DHT. Oh my goodness. An androgen that has high affinity for the prostate, the herb saw palmetto, and the drug Proscar, otherwise known as finasteride, are important for controlling excessive DHT levels. You should discuss this topic with a doctor. Knowing that DHEA is the precursor to testosterone compels some people to believe that it could be useful as an ergogenic aid. Ergogenic just means it improves sports for performance or physical performance. And in fact, it appears that this may be true. Supplementing with high doses of DHEA has been shown to raise testosterone levels. The earliest study found that when a group of women were given 100 milligrams of DHEA per day, their testosterone levels climbed significantly. In women, a normal serum testosterone level is around 80 nanograms per deciliter. The normal range for men is 300 to 1,000. In this study, women's testosterone levels climbed from base level, so it doubled. Their testosterone doubled in 30 minutes. After an hour, it peaked at 3.5 times. And then after 90 minutes, it dropped to 2 times again. So they didn't say what had happened after 90 minutes. Like how long did it take for it to drop back down again? An increase in testosterone over 90 minutes, I could be wrong, is not like long is not long lasting enough for it to have long-term negative effects, I would argue. The reason that you have, like, people who use steroids, I think that the main problem with their elevated testosterone levels, number one, is that they're way out of the range, like incredibly out of the range, and they stay there chronically, right? If it just like gets boosted for 90 minutes, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I don't know, I could be wrong. A more recent 1995 study examined the effects of 50 milligram daily oral dose of DHEA in men and women over the age of 50. The researchers discovered that this daily dose raised the subjects' DHEA levels to those of young adults within 2 weeks. The subjects in this study had their immune systems assessed through the measurement of lymphocytes, T cells, and natural killer cells. The DHEA supplementation increased the levels of these cells by 67% in men and 84% in women. The researchers performed a follow-up study in which 100 milligrams of DHEA was used. They found the expected rise in DHEA levels in the immune system response, but were surprised to find that the subjects also experienced gains in lean body mass and a substantial increase in muscular strength. Interesting. The male subjects also experienced a significant decrease in body fat. It is speculated that an increase in lean body tissue and decrease in body fat is due to increased testosterone levels. So that I'm going to disagree with that, because I do not think that a extremely mild increase in testosterone over a short period of time, 100 milligrams a day, if your serum like levels peak after an hour and then they drop back down, that's not like, it's not chronic, you know what I mean? It doesn't have enough time to work. So I think that there's something else here at work that people don't really know about. I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I don't know. Anecdotally, I can tell you that ever since I started giving my dad 100 milligrams DHEA per day, and we also started working out, I might have mentioned this in another video, but I have a 35-pound kettlebell here, which is a fairly heavy kettlebell for somebody who's untrained. My dad is fairly untrained, does not exercise regularly unless I am here visiting and like hounding them to exercise. However, he has started working out with me with this kettlebell. Yesterday, he did 100 kettlebell swings with a 35-pound kettlebell. He's 82 years old. He also did the plank, forearm plank, for 1 minute without dropping down. The forearm plank for 1 minute, 82-year-old man who's untrained, not a genetic specimen by any means. So that's considerable. That's noteworthy, I would argue. One anecdotal story revealed that a 55-year-old man recovering from minor surgery consumed 100 milligrams of DHEA per day. His pre-supplementation blood tests showed DHEA levels were 261 micrograms per deciliter and testosterone around 479. Both of these were in the normal ranges. Whoa. After a couple months of DHEA use, the man reported that his DHEA levels had increased to 630. So that's 2.5 times, roughly 2.5 times, and his testosterone increased to 1,066 nanograms per deciliter. That is amazing. That is actually amazing. I'm kind of surprised that this stuff is not talked about more, although this is anecdotal, to be fair. So recovering from minor surgery also, so it's not like, it wasn't an actual study. He also reported that he felt like a young teenager again, so supports kind of what I said. Another study examined very high dosages of DHEA, 1.6 grams per day, in postmenopausal women and found a 31% decrease in body fat in 28 days and concurrent increase in lean body mass. Warning, this dose is huge and should never be attempted by anyone. Researchers think that the decline in body fat in many of the studies is far greater than what can be accounted for by increased energy use by new and increased lean body mass. In other words, they don't think the new muscle is burning all that fat. Okay, so in other words, like when you put on lean muscle, your resting metabolism will rise and you will burn more fat at rest. But it says here that the increased muscle that these women, for example, put on does not account for their massive like reduction in body fat. A 31% decrease in 28 days. So that means that a woman, like, let's be honest, most women are not in great shape. It doesn't say when the study is. Let's say a woman is 30% body fat, right? Probably more. Let's say 40% body fat. A 31% decrease is, let's say, 13%. Drop in 13% body fat. That in 28 days, that is massive. That is huge. That's like insane. Now, obviously, to be fair, 1.6 grams of DHEA per day, that's like, you know, I'm like wired from 100 milligrams a day. So 16 times this amount, even if it's only for 28 days, that is like, that's insane, actually insane. Oh, what did this say here? If an athlete is lean and has no need to burn excess calories to lose body fat, then possibly the use of DHEA may be more of a hindrance than a help. Although a thermogenic agent increases the use of fat to generate heat, it also increases the combustion of carbohydrate. This could lead to vulnerability to hypoglycemia during training, low blood sugar. Also, because additional heat is generated, you may be more at risk of heat injury. These concerns are speculation. So he's just like spitballing here. So basically then he asks, like, is DHEA useful for people under 30? A 1988 study reported that oral administration of DHEA at a dose of 1,600 milligrams a day. Okay, so they actually used the 1,600 milligram per day dose in another study. 22 to 25-year-old men for 28 days resulted in lowering of cholesterol and LDL cholesterol without changes in other lipid parameters and glucose disposal. Body fat significantly decreased, especially in the more obese individuals. And more importantly, DHEA supplementation caused an increase in muscle mass. This study, like the other high-dose study, demonstrates the apparent safety of DHEA use up to 1.6 grams per day for 1 month. So it appears to be safe here. This study was done in the 80s. We don't actually know if it's, you know, if there's any long-term effects. Television News Magazine aired a program looking at DHEA supplementation, middle-aged woman. Okay, so there's one report here of a woman that says that her blood cholesterol levels were like bad after this. Like good cholesterol went down, bad cholesterol went up. The interview was several months after the woman had ceased taking DHEA, and she claimed that her blood cholesterol was still bad. Doesn't say how much she was using or if she had an underlying condition. So now, to be fair, these are two side effects that occur in steroid users. Maybe in some people, DHEA supplementation causes severe elevations in androgens like testosterone, which may impair blood lipid parameters. However, this contradicts the previously cited research and other research that has shown that DHEA supplementation reduces physiological factors that influence coronary mortality. So I guess they're equating changes in cholesterol with basically dying from heart disease. However, there was that guy here who said that his testosterone rose to above the normal range despite being 50-something years old and having recovered from surgery after taking only 100 milligrams of testosterone per day. So, you know, it's very important to remember that DHEA is a serious hormone that is now being marketed like a vitamin. Indiscriminate use of DHEA could potentially be very dangerous for those over 40, I believe, for long-term use. The intake of about 25 milligrams per day is not risky, and perhaps dosages up to 100 milligrams may be safe. However, young athletes who consume 400 to 800 milligrams per day, and I've heard reports of this, may be jeopardizing their health. It raises the androgens, testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, and androstenedione. In women, this may cause masculinizing effects, and in men, this may cause problems like enlarged prostate and feminizing effects from increased estrogen. He says this may, right? So like there is no evidence, like they've done a bunch of studies on DHEA. There is no evidence that this will happen from DHEA supplementation per se. The idea is that DHEA will raise your testosterone and could cause these problems. It appears that DHEA may work best for female athletes over the age of 40. Men of this age may benefit somewhat as well. If I were to use DHEA, I would use about 200 milligrams per day in divided doses for 2 to 4 weeks during a heavy training phase or overreaching period as a means to augment my training just before my most important competition. It's important to use DHEA in divided doses. Interesting. Okay, so he says you need to split it up because it will increase your testosterone levels and then they'll drop back down again after about 2 hours. So you want to like maintain consistent blood levels. There is some anecdotal evidence that DHEA has a bit of stimulative mood elevating effect, which could interfere with sleep. I've never taken it at night, but I can attest to the mood elevating. For safety reasons, I would probably only use DHEA once or twice a year for a short period, so this guy's very conservative in that regard. These are hormones that we were messing around with until more science shows conclusively that DHEA supplementation is safe. So apparently there's no studies that take a look at the long-term safety of DHEA. For men, there's a risk of shutting down or at least diminishing your own natural testicular production of testosterone when using DHEA. The natural feedback mechanisms in the body will sense an overabundance of testosterone and or DHEA and will signal the testes to reduce testosterone production and signal the adrenals to slow DHEA output. It is unknown whether DHEA use will raise testosterone levels significantly enough to cause this to happen, however. Don't forget to take your antioxidants while using the stuff. That's fairly important, I would say. Maybe some green tea or something like that, vitamin E. Also, if I were to use DHEA, I would get some blood work done before I started take DHEA supplementation and then get second test done after I finished my short supplementation period. It's a bit of a hassle, but we are messing with stuff that frankly shouldn't be sold to us without prescription. I have to say that I'm absolutely marveled that DHEA and the other hormones like melatonin and progesterone can be purchased off the shelf of a health food store. If someone discovers testosterone growing in some green stuff on a tree, it will surely become legal to purchase without prescription as well. There are many pro hormones that use something. There are these things called plant steroids. I think it's called like ecditestosterone or ecdysterone or something, ECDY. And there's like only some Russian studies that I found, but they have been shown to increase testosterone, and they're in a lot of pro hormones now. So, I will not go into morals and ethics. Agreed. Stupid. As for research with athletes and DHEA supplementation, there's absolutely none available as far as I can tell. The use of DHEA as a sports supplement is in its infancy. In fact, you could say it hasn't even been born yet. Needless to say, much work is still needed before we know for sure whether DHEA supplementation is of any benefit to athletes. Come on. It's best to discuss with your doctor. All right, so this is all like the disclaimer stuff. You may think DHEA is an exciting supplement in terms of potential ergogenicity. However, wait till next month when I review another now available hormone called androstenedione. It may knock your socks off. I will definitely do another video on that just because I'm interested in it. So I thought this was, I read this today in the morning and I thought it was interesting enough for me to actually make a video on it. DHEA is one of those supplements that like should be treated with respect. However, and I've not taken it long term, to be fair. I did take it once when I was younger and I did notice a little bit more energy and maybe a little bit of reduction in fat loss, but I only took it for about maybe a month or two, and I took 25 milligrams a day. However, the difference that I notice now is way more. Is it also possible because I'm 15 years older and like slow down a little bit biologically? It's also possible, but the benefits, like I don't feel, I have been moody a little bit lately, but I'm not sure if it was from that. I think it might be from something else, but so far so good. What do you guys think about DHEA? Does this encourage you to take it at all? Are you interested in that? Do you have any other supplements that you want me to take a look at? I'm going to start doing a lot more of these. So if you have any other ones, let me know. Leave me a comment. What do you think about DHEA? Does it sound tempting to you at all? Sound a little bit dangerous? Let me know. Leave me a comment. Peace.